Hi, everybody. This is Jim Kurtz with Harvest Harmonics, and welcome to today's episode of The Profitable Farmer. And today's episode, I've been doing a little bit more research than I normally do on social media, and just doing research and industry type of stuff. And one thing that I've been kind of coming across in my research is a sort of prevailing myth. It's a prevailing attitude, and that is that large businesses, and you know, large businesses and technology, especially, are um, against stuff like the environment, and against human health, against fair play, and all of this stuff. And I think I kind of have an idea where this comes from, but again, I always caution myself not to get political on these, even though we have our little support Ukraine here, standing with Ukraine symbol to show our solidarity with the people of Ukraine. And we hope this conflict ends very soon, and we hope that we can help rebuild Ukraine back to the way it was. We hope that Russia can come to its senses and start behaving as a part of the world community. That's our hope here. But in today's episode, I really kind of want to go over just that kind of concept of the giving back of environmental stewardship, because I've talked to hundreds and even thousands of farmers over the last few years, and there's no higher desire on most of the farmers that I talk to than to improve and enhance, and take advantage and take care of our environment. That includes taking care of the soil, that it includes taking care of our atmosphere, that includes taking care of our water supplies. And yet, people have asked me who are not in the farming communities, like, well, if farmers are so interested in taking care of the environment, then why do they continue to spray chemicals like Roundup and these insecticides, these herbicides, these various things that are toxic to the humans and to the environment? And the simple answer to that is they don't really have much of a choice. I mean, imagine if um, you had a livelihood, right? And to make that livelihood, you had to do things that was maybe not ideal, not the best way to do it, but you really had no other solution, right? In order to make enough money to feed your family and make a decent living, you have to do things which maybe are not as good for the environment, right? And that's really, I think, what it boils down to. Up until very recently, there hasn't been a lot of solutions for agriculture that are workable solutions that allow farmers uh, to make a good living, but also to take care of the environment, take care of everybody else. So the Kyminasi Plant Booster, of course, was born out of that desire. Of course, if you've watched our presentations, our entire desire, our entire interest is to improve the environment, to improve the quality and health of the food that we're producing, but also to do it in such a way that it's environmentally friendly, but also profitable for the farmer. So we have this show, that's we have our Innovations in Agriculture show, because we want to make sure that farmers stay profitable. Because if a farmer is not profitable, then it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter how great, how much yield you can get, or how much you want to save the environment, or how much you get mad at them, or even how much regulation you put on them. A farmer has to make a living. So the idea is, how can we improve the quality and quantity of yield so the farmer makes a good living, right? And at the same time, do so in a way that doesn't harm the environment, doesn't harm the soil, and is a sustainable solution going forward. Now, our solution, of course, is the Kyminasi Plant Booster. And the reason, of course, our solution is superior to most of other solutions is because we're not using that same biochemical model, that same, you know, doing the same thing and expecting a different result kind of a model, right? Our system utilizes the laws of physics to directly stimulate biological function of plants. And by doing that, we make the plants more efficient. And if you can make plants more efficient, of course, then they're going to use less fertilizer. You can think of it in terms of a car, right? I mean, the cars of the 60s and 70s compared to today were horribly inefficient, right? And they, of course, over time, over a lot of innovation, a lot of evolution of the mechanics of cars, now cars, even regular gas cars, are a lot more efficient than anything that was around in the 60s and 70s, right? So we've made that progress to that line. In the same way, now we are doing for agriculture what guys like Elon Musk and the other guys have done to the automobile industry. We're making farming more efficient so that the farmers get more yield and better yield out of the inputs and the money that they're spending. And when you can really improve efficiency and do it in such a way that's not adding chemicals or creating other problems, then of course now you have a sustainable solution that's going to move us forward. And that kind of goes back to my earlier point. Yes, of course, we can regulate the market and regulate the industry. We can demand and enforce certain types of things. But the reality is, if you just provide a better solution and a solution that's more efficient and that doesn't have a lot of these drawbacks, then you're going to have a solution that most people are going to grab onto. And we really think it's just a matter of more farms, enough farms finding out about us and realizing that this really is the solution that they've been looking for. And I want to just take a few minutes to share just the first part of my presentation here. I want you guys to see why this innovation is so unique and why it's so effective and why it's different, quite frankly. So again, the future of farming today is not biochemistry. It's not using the same techniques we've been using for the last 70, 80 years. We are using, again, biophysics applied to agriculture. Okay. Now, biophysics, I just want to kind of really walk you through this because we understand how this works and why it works. I think it'll make a lot more sense as far as why this is a better solution for agriculture. Now, biophysics is based upon analysis of living cells, okay? All living cells of a certain type emit frequency patterns that are identical for all cells of the same type. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Think about just the root system in a plant, okay? Keep it really, really simple. If a root system is composed of a lot of healthy cells, think about how that root is getting the water and nutrients out of the soil and pulling it into the plant, okay? The root first has to grow through the soil and contact that water and nutrients. Let's say it makes contact. Well, if all the cells in that root structure are all operating together and in conjunction with each other, then all of those cells will be able to suck that water and nutrients out of the soil and up into the plant, right? And all those that water and those nutrients will go from one cell to the next to the next to the next, and all the way up through the plant. However, when those cells are not aligned and they're not harmonized to each other and they're operating at different frequencies, for example, when a cell gets damaged or when you have certain forms of stress or maybe you have nematodes or something else that would harm the root system in a plant, and that causes these plants to operate at different frequency patterns. In other words, they're corrupted in such a way that one ideal, healthy cell is operating, let's say, at, I'm just going to make up a number, 50 hertz, let's say 50 beats per minute, and an unhealthy, distorted is operating at 30 or 40 beats per second. So what happens when this is beating faster than this one? Well, that means that the water that this cell is trying to communicate over to the next cell next to it is now not able to get over to the next cell and move on through the chain. It's almost like if you took a garden hose and you're watering your lawn with it, and you reach down and put a kink in the hose and cut off half of the supply. Well, that's kind of what we're doing with. That's kind of what's happening. Excuse me, in existing agriculture, right? We've kinked the hose because of poor microbial activity in the soil, because of nematodes, because of weather conditions, because of toxic chemicals that we're putting in the soil to kill off insects and herbs and that kind of stuff. So all these different factors are slowly causing like that kink in the hose, so to speak, right? So what does a farmer do? Does he reach through to unkink the hose? No. Most farmers, what they do is they just turn up the pressure to full blast, right? They put a lot more fertilizer in the soil, they put a lot more water in the soil, and they try to force the plants just to absorb those nutrients just by brute force, right? It's almost like if you had a fire hose and somebody put a kink in that fire hose, instead of just going back and undoing the kink, you're like cranking up the volume to the pressure so that it just forces the water through. And that's kind of been the approach of regular commercial agriculture. Just put a lot more chemicals, a lot more fertilizer, a lot more nutrients in the soil in an effort to just make sure that the plants have no choice but to absorb what they need. But the problem is you're not making the plant more efficient when you do that. And when you're not making the plant more efficient, what you're ultimately doing is spending a lot more money than you have to and not getting the result that you want. So when we take this concept from the cells all the way up to an organism, we just see this the same rules apply. All the different processes in an organism all have their own frequency patterns as well. And Mr. Fulvio Baumelli, the inventor of this technology, discovered over 3,100 frequency patterns associated with healthy, productive plants. And he mapped these out into small transmitters and into an algorithm that basically is an instruction set that tells plants how to recalibrate and reorient themselves so that they're operating efficiently. So Mr. Baumelli studied thousands of varieties of plants, and he discovered that healthy, productive plants all have energy output and metabolic processes, metabolism that goes according to very ordered, organized frequency patterns you see here. However, when a plant has various forms of stress or insect pressure or other things, the biological functions again get distorted and the plant cannot generate energy the way it should. And when that happens, you're losing a lot of ability of that plant to not only grow, but also to produce lots of flowers and fruits and vegetables, which is, of course, what makes you your money. So what we do is we recalibrate and retune the biological processes of plants back to their ideal state. And when we do that, we make the plants much, much more efficient. And when they're more efficient, that means you can use a lot less fertilizer and other inputs, and you can get a lot more yield in return as well. From a simplicity standpoint, the Kyminasi Plant Booster is a simple device that utilizes transmitters that send these radio wave signals into the water, which then, of course, is carried to the plant. These radio wave signals have been fine-tuned in such a way to be able to reorganize and retune those biological processes in plants. So if you have a root cell that's not operating at its ideal frequency pattern, our system is going to use harmonics, the physical laws of harmonics, and retune that plant back to its ideal state. So the next question, the most obvious one is, well, where do I install this and how do I use this? Well, Kyminasi Plant Booster is an irrigation device, and it can also be applied to sprayer for dryland farming, but it is an irrigation system that automatically retunes and refines the metabolic processes in plants without chemicals. And all you have to do is install this into an irrigation system and water your crops. It's literally that easy. Now, how it works and how it does all of these things is quite complicated and complex. However, the simplicity of it is when you plug this into your irrigation system and water the crops on a regular basis, our system is going to keep that plant producing the highest amount of energy possible and improve its overall production. The two key areas that our system really improves is photosynthesis efficiency and soil health. And when we see these two factors improve, we see more vigorous growth, better production, and better quality as well. Now, I can go through all kinds of different examples. Again, 100% faster growth rate, reduction of funguses and insects, double the production on turmeric, 35% faster growth rate on corn, faster growth rate on citrus trees, faster growth rate and more production in artichokes with less nematodes in the soil, 3 times more vigorous corn growth in Colombia, reduced mite infestations in grapes, better root development and root growth, better quality and better higher price. You can sell your products for higher price with Kyminasi Plant Booster. More vigorous squash growth. Again, I can kind of go through all the different examples, and I'm not going to spend 3 hours going through every case study that we have. But rice, strawberries, funguses, and tomatoes improving. Lemon trees, lime trees, insect resistance, cabbage. I mean, grass and turf even. And if it's a plant and it utilizes photosynthesis, our system is going to improve its function and improve its overall output. So again, I can kind of go through all these different results, but I really just want to reiterate that the Kyminasi Plant Booster is all about making your plants, making your crops more efficient. Okay. Again, if you only focus on increasing yield, then you can probably get yield this year, but you're going to do enough damage to the soil and enough damage to your fields and crops that the next year might be a down year. And if you've had those up and down years like that, you've probably seen what happens when you only focus on chasing yield. If you're looking for quality and you say, I don't want any more yield, I just want quality. Well, again, the way you get better quality and the better balance of quality is by increasing the energy level of the plants. And if you can make plants more efficient at what they're naturally designed to do, you're going to get better results and better quality. However, if you try to push one factor or another, like you try to push too much bricks and then your other phenols and other things are not keeping up and they have distortions and don't produce the quality one. So to increase yield and increase quality on a consistent basis and do so in a sustainable way, you need to focus on how do I make my operation more efficient. I mean, if the current situation right now with food shortages and fertilizer costs going through the roof, if that hasn't convinced you by now to get more efficient in your operation, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, there's really nothing more I can tell you. If you don't want to get more efficient, if you like spending a lot of money and getting a minimal return for that money, then by all means, please turn off your Facebook right now, go to something else, and enjoy yourself. And I wish you the best of luck. But if you're like most people, you want to get more efficient, you want to make more money, you want to reduce your negative environmental impact, on both the crops and the environment, and you want to make your operation as efficient as possible, then give us a call. Just call us at 727-324-6750. Let's do a one-on-one consultation with you and your farm so we can show you how much of a benefit you can expect with the Kyminasi Plant Booster. And we'll just walk you through the numbers. I mean, it's really that simple. We do cost benefit analysis. We'll say, hey, this is how much money you are going to have to pay us, and this is how much money you're going to make, and here's the differential. And if that number is good enough, we would assume you would do the right thing and buy it. If that number is not good enough, we thank you for your time. In 90% of the time, when I do my cost benefit analysis, I show very, very good returns. With specialty crops, we're looking at 10 to 20 times return on investment. Even commodity guys are getting 3 to 5 times return on their investment with Kyminasi. So um, now, of course, the real benefit of this is we have a money back guarantee. So the worst any farmer could ever do with us is break even. So far, we haven't had to give anybody their money back or any kind of reimbursement because they're always making more money with Kyminasi. But that is there just as a safety net, just in case. At the end of the day, guys, we're in a situation as a people. We're in a situation as farmers. We're in a situation as people, and we need to kind of band together and do something. So if you guys are a large operation, if you're a big, big company like Cargill or Dole or one of these major producers, we want to work with you. We want to work with you for two reasons. We want to work with you not just to help you make more money and all that stuff, but we want to work with you because you're the big producers and you guys are having the biggest environmental impact and the biggest impact on fertilizer usage worldwide. And we want to help you the most to help reduce that overall usage worldwide. And for the small guys, the guys that are out there just making a living, doing your farming, we want to help you guys too, because at the end of the day, you guys are the backbone of our country and of our civilization as a whole. And it's up to you to be able to feed the world, and it's up to us to help you. So give us a call or send us an email or go to our website. We want to work with you, and let's work together to make this world a better place. And let's work together so that you can become part of the future of farming today. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you.